So my name is Bogdan. I'm one of the co-founders at Ammp. I've got my background is in photojournalism. Hi, Renata. Welcome. And you can see my colleague Petrica here as well, who's heading our broadcast at Ammp Digital. So it's depending on how many people we can manage to turn around. I've got a couple of slides just to set the conversation up, and then maybe we can start talking about some real examples, because that's, I think, what the fun of a roundtable is. Just before we go, if we can say hi in the chat, and just so we know the audience, so we can focus the conversation. If you guys are organizers or coming from platforms, or if you're more into B2B, B2C events, exhibitions, things like this, just let me know in the chat so we can focus more on that bit rather than anything else, if it makes it makes it as relevant as possible. Okay, we've hit 33, so we'll start. And so, as I said, my name is Bogdan. I'm one of the co-founders at Ammp Digital. We are a company that focuses on delivering products for the events industry. We've been doing this for a long time. We mainly focus on anything around data, but most specifically around visual content, and that is both production, strategy, and anything around it. We've got a couple of very interesting products which we can talk about afterwards. You're free to set up a meeting with me. We've got at the stand you have my Calendly there. You can reach out to me or either on Bogdan@ammp.digital or the one with the beard, and we can have very long conversations about this. But to move forward very quickly, the idea of what we're going to do today is...
там всего лишь сколько? 5 людей этот session смотрят?
Hello. My Russian is very bad, unfortunately, if I picked that right. Fair enough. I think it was another conversation with somebody else, which is fine. So very quickly to set up the conversation, we're looking at revenue models from the perspective of video specifically. Currently, the new foundations of revenue models in the new world, we don't have it. We've been speaking for this for quite a few months about how the pandemic and digital changed the event industry. And what you're looking now at the moment is we're looking at the traditional square meter, which is one of the key elements in terms of large shows that we're looking at revenue models. We're looking at enhanced data because we had data before, but now it's becoming more and more relevant, and we're looking at smart content. Very quickly, what is smart content? Because that's one of the key things that we're doing, talking about is what we think and how we look at and how we define smart content is that it has to be interactive. It has to be you should be able to search in it. In terms of video, you should be able to access it from anywhere. You should be able to share it without any problems. It has to be curated as well, so because nobody at a large conference with 350 speakers is going to watch 350 hours of content. You have to curate it and make it useful for your attendee, and also you have to measure everything, all the interactivity and everything from that perspective. And how we look, just to set up the conversation, how we look at smart video is we look at it from two perspectives. First of all, we look at strategy, and when we say strategy is always trying to figure out why we need to do that, because just producing content makes no sense whatsoever. It's fun. I've been a photographer all my life. Patricia has had the same history with me, but it's very fun and it's a way of communication. But we're talking about business. If we're just producing content, if you're just recording a session without understanding what your KPIs are, and those KPIs can be very simple. It's do you want to make more money? Do you want to make a new revenue stream? Do you want to use it for user engagement? Do you want to use it for user acquisition? It's still something that you are aiming for. So when you're talking about a strategy, you're talking about a strategy aiming for something, to achieve something. And when we look at strategy, again, very quickly, we usually go through the 5 questions, which are we've borrowed from the journalist stages. It's why, again, why do you need to create visual content? It's extremely important to start from there. When do you create it? Where and how do you share it? And how people are going to engage with it? What kind of visual content you want to use? Because at some point, somebody might a picture can do way more. It can be way better and generate more revenue, for example, than a video very badly made. And who are these people that are going to watch the content? And then you apply this from top to bottom and from bottom to top, and you always ask these questions. We always look at content at 2 stages because of the way it engages and what behavioral triggers it, what behavior it triggers. Live is a completely different experience. So this point where I'm babbling a little bit because I lost my record button and I couldn't find it and I started badly. This is live, this is okay, this is engaging, this is how it should be. If you're on a stage, you can make mistakes, people can see you. Whereas if this is a recording, I would like to get this as much as possible and as neatly as possible. And we are always looking at this as interconnected. So video on demand, live can become video on demand, recorded can go into live, and so on. So we are always looking at how these are interconnected and how these work together. And I'll finish on a note in terms of what revenue models we are looking at currently and what kind of ideas we have and we've tried for revenue models. And then we can, if we can go and go through a few examples. And if you guys want to turn on the camera and have a conversation, that would be fantastic, because we'll have another 12 minutes to do that. So we're looking at specifically at new sponsorship packages, and we've been working with clients to do this. And that can be anything from live to video on demand to recorded to innovation, to tours and anything that we can do with recorded videos. Pay as you go, it's working where you have large conferences or you want people to pay just for a specific speaker, for example. Subscription services are not huge because of Netflix and of the way we're looking at paying for subscription services, and that is a long conversation that we can have at any point. I would love to rant about it. But most importantly, and where you're going into, is behavioral insights, dynamic ads, and data, and how you can curate that video, because video curation means that you're building trust. You're saving somebody time, which is an important asset, one of the most important assets that they have. You're getting behavioral insights, which you can help curate videos, and you can help create anything from dynamic ads to asynchronous videos, concepts, to anything engaging and monetization, from a monetization and engagement point with your community. Hi, Stephen. Thank you for jumping on.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Northern, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Perfect. I'll finish on this. We were supposed to have way more in terms of time, but I think conversations are way more important than me babbling on, and I can babble on for a few hours around video. So we can go 2 ways in this, and you can tell me in the chat, or you can jump on the stage like Stephen did, because again, not everybody's ready for stage. Not everybody had the lights and microphone set up because they knew it in advance from that perspective, or put a shirt on. Stephen, what are you doing? Let's start with you, because you're on the stage.
What do you mean by what am I doing?
Are you an event organizer, platform, tech?
Event organizer.
Excellent. B2B conferences, B2C?
Primarily the music industry, actually, but more recently I've entered the sort of corporate realm.
Fair enough. So
all over the place.
So mostly conferences, I take it, not necessarily exhibitions or anything like that from that perspective.
Recently, conferences, exhibitions, networking events.
Fair enough. And more in terms of community building, where are you in terms of what you're doing with the video at the moment?
What do you mean with video? Sorry. So I'm a bit late to the chat.
Sorry, no worries. So the roundtable is about smart video, what we call smart video, and how we can monetize it or create engagement around it. So I'm curious where you are, so we can start with an example, or if you tell me a show that you have, or we can pick something up, or you want me to tell you something about what we've done, and I can give you a couple of examples.
I think that would be best. To be honest, I'm a bit of a tourist in this world.
No worries.
I stepped back in the past sort of couple of years when this sort of hybrid virtual world really took off. And I'm sort of lurking in the background, just watching it develop.
No worries. Spectators are good. I mean, it's a learning experience for all of us, to be honest with you. So it's from then. Let me give you an example. Where we found the most success, to be completely frank, at the moment, is mostly conferences and B2B exhibitions, because content there was not used, and you don't have the correct platform like you would have platforms that you'd have in music. In music, YouTube, you have an audience in YouTube. You can start targeting people. You've gotten enough AI tools that you can start understanding your audiences. Whereas if you go to a B2B conference, take food, take data, marketing, anything that has B2B related to it, you don't really understand the audiences because nobody has done market research. The revenue models are completely different. So one simple example is from Vita Foods, for example, from Informa that we worked with. They had one relevant problem that you wanted solving, which is they couldn't do hosted buyers tours, which is something that everybody does in the B2B event industry. It's a good revenue source, and they couldn't do it because it was in digital. What we did was to take and do what we call now innovation tours, which is a product we actually sell and use quite often. And we've identified with them, we've worked together to identify innovators. We've recorded and created high-end content that we started targeting at different levels. So it was a 30-minute videos for the buyers that really wanted to engage with it, social media clips, and all this kind of stuff. And the output was quite successful, quite happy to say that all the people who watched the innovation tours actually went and talked to the guys at the booth or emailed them, and they were quite interested. So we actually took video, did it in a smart way, making it interactive. They could search it, they could do everything around it, and people actually generated leads from that because they became interested. When you go, sorry, go for it.
Sorry, just a quick question. How much prior to the event itself was this video produced and
4
shared?
months. We started producing 4 months ahead. Yes, so 3 to 4 months ahead. But you can correct me. But it's way ahead because you need to think about what you want to do with the video and where you want to use it. Because if we didn't have time to produce, if we didn't have time to take all those companies and actually talk to them and understand where they are and how they are doing this, it will be very hard for us to actually start targeting and understanding the audience. And based on the interactivity that we have in that audience, then you've got a lot of behavioral triggers. For example, one of the things that is kind of new to the market and we're doing alongside Clipper and a couple of other people is video transcription. So we understand text from video, not just the faces and the logos, and you can search in video. So you can go and search for any word. So if we are like VII here, you can say revenue models and see exactly who talked about revenue models in all the other talks, and it will take you straight to that point in the video. But on the back end, we would look at revenue models. We would look at Stephen, for example, not you personally. You would have an ID basically, and we understand that Stephen is interested in revenue models, so we can recommend some revenue models videos to him because it's relevant, and that means that Stephen doesn't have to watch all the roundtables, all the 45 minutes to an hour roundtables. It's relevant. We build trust with Stephen because that's the core of it, as I said earlier. And then Stephen comes back because he knows that we're going to feed him a correct content. And video, and both video and pictures is a conversation because I can ask Kevin, would you like to see a 30-second clip? And Kevin can go, yes, but I'm mostly interested in 10 minutes because I want to find out more. Then I can feed Kevin 10-minute clips, not 1 hour and a half clips, because I know Kevin or Stephen doesn't have time to do 30 minutes. So it's always a conversation that needs to be in touch. Hi, sorry, I only see the KTs and the first letters of the word, the attendees' name, so I don't know, but please feel free to jump in and we can talk about it. And I'll give you another example that is about how preparing video in advance really helps, because we work with the Royal Aeronautical Society we did most of their conferences, and one of their conferences was an academic conference where PhDs had to come and present their research on airplane fuselage, which is not the most fantastic topic in the world unless you are interested in airplane fuselage. Other than that point, it was absolutely fantastic. You had about 16 hours of people talking on and about their research in airplane fuselage. And what we did with them, we've worked with them on strategy. So we said, don't do 2 days of a conference online that people just come and talk about it. Just do, we did a 6-hour conference, I think, with all the major keynotes and all the panels. And we've recorded all the other presentations, which are about 3 days worth of content, put it on their platform, created chats around it, and we created timeline where actually the speakers were thank you, Yonit. We're coming and hosting a roundtable, so they can come in at Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and they had time. And if you're interested in that, you can jump on a call with them, or you can write in the chat, and you can see the conversation started. And that happened for 2 weeks before the event. When the event actually happened itself, people came just for we had the head of research at university in US that you wanted to listen, and they delivered the keynote, and they continued the conversation afterwards on those specific little hubs. Because if you look at the chat, there are about 3 or 5 people that are talking there. It's not a huge engagement for one video, but those are the relevant people that wanted to talk about that specific subject within the fuselage building industry, which is, trust me, very niche industry. But we added a huge amount of added value to that from that perspective. Hi, Vanessa. You can join us. So if anybody wants to join or write in the session or write in the text here, any questions about that? I know we're running out of time. We have about 3 minutes of doing that, of what we're doing. But that's what we do at Ammp Digital. That's what I'm personally passionate about. That's where we are. And if you have any questions, please just reach out, and I'm happy to go through more than 20 minutes of talking about this, because this is not a magic wand. This is not going to solve all your problems, and this is not going to work in 20 minutes. It needs to be planned, as we said, 3-4 months in advance. Understand your audience, have that conversation, and build everything that you need. Hi, Vanessa. How are you?
Oh, fine. Thank you. Bogdan, thank you for so amazing presentation. It was even better than I thought it will be. Congratulations for that.
Thank you very much. I'll take that for today.
It's very hard to speak so many important information in a very short period of time. So congratulations for that.
Thank you very much.
You unfortunately, you answered half of my questions that I want to add just right now. As I understood about your presentation, video is one of the key aspects of events from now on. That's for sure. But the complexity of producing and also to define the strategy of the best use for that is a science that's more complicated than I thought it would be. So what's your suggestion and tips that you can give to meeting organizer to improve their events, doing that the best way for that? Can you help us on that?
So video has a couple of things that you need to think about. First of all, is quality, so don't go on Zoom. I had a rant earlier on the chat. If anybody wants to go, you can see I had a go at somebody called Matt. Hopefully he's here or not here, but depending on how it's going, everybody has their own opinion. But video, all about video is about quality of whatever you see and hear. Because if you go to a conference and live conference and everything is absolutely perfect and you have a lanyard that smells very badly, your experience is going to be very bad. If you go to a digital conference and the sound is bad, that's going to be a bad experience, regardless how fancy and pretty everything looks and how many lights I have a speaker and I've put my microphone here that moves around and it looks like I'm actually professional when I'm talking. But the sound is better. The sound on the microphone helps me to transmit my messages better. Second of all, this thing with production being something hard, it's a myth. It's a myth done by somebody who wants to sell something more expensive. It's not hard. It's just nobody's done it the way professionals have done it, because the AV companies that are usually used to doing live streaming from a live event with a static camera, they don't understand the live concepts of a transmission. We work mainly, most of our team is live TV producers and technicians. They know what live means, what a live experience is. And I have not met yet a client that works in B2B industries, because music and festivals are harder when it comes to video. But I have not met yet somebody that works into B2B client that we could not solve a problem with video for them. So it's not hard. It's just start early, have a conversation with the right people, and we think we are. We honestly can just jump on a call and tell you a couple of thoughts, and then see whatever you need to use, because we won't fit every single bill from that perspective. But train of thought, I know it's 51. It's very easy. Don't use Zoom. There are many other useful tools out there. Please don't use Zoom. I don't know how to underline that. Use Whereby. Use anything else but Zoom. Be smart about your content. Always ask those 5 questions. I'll go back to them if I can, because those 5 questions are extremely important. Ask for anything that you do, wherever you do, small content, big content, anything like that. Just ask those questions for everything, and you will succeed to way better than anything else. And then hire somebody that knows what they're doing, because it's worth it. If it makes money for you, hire somebody. If it doesn't make money, come to us and we'll teach you how to do it. Or at least give me a call from that perspective.
Yeah, I do have another question, if I may, Stephen. Can I do it?
Absolutely. I'm not sure how to sort of remove myself from this screen, so it's
no
all
worries, no worries.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's good to see people. So that's
Yes.
that's good to see you too. Bogdan, how can we combine? Because let's rephrase it. A data-driven event is
Yes.
one of the top trends that we have in our market,
Yes.
and video has a huge responsibility for that. I mean, because it moves people in a very intensive experience. So how is the best way to combine the data that we have on the event and now dynamic data that we are talking nowadays with videos? How is the combination works, in fact?
So that's a very good question, and that's one of the biggest points that I think we have at the moment, not just with video. It's about how we communicate with all the tools that we have. So if you have 10 different tools, so you have a registration tool, you have a platform, you have a 365 platform, you've got an account, and you've got a video solution, and then you've got another 5 or 10 things that do, or CRM. If you don't align them, there is no point. Also, it's part on us as the technologists to go and say, we are not alone. We have to work with other people. So like we do with VII, like we do with like VII does with other partners, and understand that they don't have a one answer for everything. They have to work together. They work with CRMs. They work with each bit. So that can answer your question. That's one of the problems. The other challenge is that video without data is not necessarily that good, but you need just to see how you connect them, because again, that curation that I talked about, that can happen before somebody actually enters the platform, before they actually see anything, because they will answer a couple of questions when you do a registration. So you can ask them relevant questions, because from my perspective, I would say half of the forms when you register for an event are irrelevant, completely irrelevant to the platform. So if I would ask you just, what do you want to see? You want to see content or networking? I would drive you to content or networking to give you add value instantly. Then I would ask you, what are you interested? Are you interested in, I don't know, boats or photos? Because if you ask me to answer me those two simple questions, I can curate content and experience in a click without any problem. And it's very, very easy to do that. You don't have to overcomplicate it. It's just simple. We can go into behavioral data. So you came and watched me speaking. So you can look at what I have done and assess that as a second level of data for you. So I can create an experience, because if you came in and asked questions and turned on the camera and you're actually involved, that means that you're interested in what this session has been doing, about the speaker, about what other attendees have done. So you can curate that data and you can gather that data. But if you don't align, if you don't ask your vendors and your if you don't work with them to align that data, it becomes irrelevant and it's a waste of time. And it's a pity, because it's so nice to come to a platform where you don't have to start looking for what you want, that it serves you right from that perspective. That bit is not easy. There are easier bits to do, but that's where we should aim for, and that's what we should push for. And then at some point we'll get little bits of it. It's steps. It's not no magic wand, not by itself. Together with everything else, it will drive and increase experiences. And if you increase experience, you build up your revenue. It's not a problem from that perspective.
I do believe that inbound content is one of the most powerful tools that anyone can have. And it's also, in our case, in our market, is one of the best things that we can have from suppliers. Because as we are talking about, there's a lot of black points that we don't know how to go through it, how to start doing better. And so that's why I always look for a very high quality content to help me go through my work, and also because I'm a teacher. So, and I also want to teach more and to put my good content on my books and texts. So please continue doing that, because that's the way that you will be well known, and also the market will increase value of all the deliveries that we have to do. So thank you again.
Absolutely, an absolute pleasure. Thank you much. I think we have to wrap up, right? We had 7:30 to 7, so we're 6 minutes above the schedule. So thank you very much, everybody who came in. Let me do my final thing, which is you can find me here at any point. Just ping me a message. this is what we aim to do, is to deliver better engagement. We have a couple of products that are quite nice. I'm not trying to sell anything. You'll hear me ranting more than for anything in the industry rather than just selling the product. So if you have any questions around video, data, registration, I'm your guy and I love to talk. So happy days.
Great. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen and Varsa, for chatting on. Thank you, everybody else, for what we have, for staying with us. Thank you. I think we've still got Alex and Daria and Vadim and Petrico. He knows me for too many years, so I'm not going to, but thank you. Thank you very much for everything, and enjoy the event. It's quite a nice platform, actually. It's very, very interesting from that perspective to see how people interact with it. Have a lovely day.
Cheers. You too.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye-bye, people.
Cheers, everyone.